Alright, you guys, welcome back to the channel. Ooh! Because a lot of you have been asking for the ooh, so there you go. There's an ooh right in the beginning of the video. Ooh, right there for you. So today we're going to be answering a lot of questions that you guys have had and that I get very frequently. We're going to be talking about what parts you can throw on your car without a tune and which ones require a tune. Just because I get this question a lot, like I mean a lot. Instagram DMs, comments, videos, everything, you name it, it gets asked. So there, for the most part, a lot of these parts that we are going to be talking about are going to require a tune, but there are some that do not. There are some engine parts you can throw on that just simply don't require a tune. Now I want you guys to keep this in mind as we go through this video. Anything, and I mean absolutely anything, that changes the amount of air or the amount of fuel that goes in or out of the car is going to require a tune. So that is going to cover the vast majority of parts out there. But there are some that kind of fall into the gray zone, the gray area, the mushy-mush gray area between there. So let's get into it. So I feel like doing this video very informal yet again, because it's more fun to shoot these informal rather than just talking to a tripod all day. So I'm gonna be walking around, we're gonna be moving around covering this stuff. So first up, we're gonna talk about parts that you absolutely need a tune for. Then we'll jump into some of the other ones that you don't necessarily need a tune for. So these ones are gonna be all primarily ones that people specifically ask me about. Turbo cars in general. This is going to be pretty much all turbo cars. Some cars are going to be a little bit more lenient with the parts that you throw on them. Subarus specifically like to throw temper tantrums, especially the newer ones. Some of the older GD models are a little more tolerable of parts that you're throwing on them. The ECU is just able to compensate a little bit better. But intakes, you guys ask me, do I need a tune for this intake? This company tells me I don't need a tune for this intake. You 100% need a tune for that intake. Remember, you're changing the amount of air going into the engine. Like anything, absolutely anything that changes the amount of air or fuel going in or out, you need a tune for. So intakes, you need a tune. Intercoolers, it's another one that you guys ask me a lot. Top mount or front mount intercoolers. Yes, you need a tune for both of them, especially a front mount intercooler. Jesus, you are adding a lot of piping for that front mount. So a tune is, it's gonna be required for that one. As for a top mount, sometimes you can get away with not tuning for a top mount, but I do highly suggest doing so. If you're throwing a different top mount on the car, if you're throwing a bigger top mount on the car, you have to keep in mind that you're changing the amount of volume that the intercooler can hold. It's also changing how efficient it is as well. Intakes, intercoolers, you're gonna need a tune for both of them. Next up, boost controllers. Yes, you need a tune for a boost controller. You can't just throw one in and expect everything to remain as it is stock. You are gonna need a tune for that, so just keep that in mind if you are looking at one or you have been looking at one. 100% need a tune for a boost controller. Downpipes. Obviously you need a tune for a downpipe. So like I said, the amount of air that's clean and dirty, it can be exhaust or intake, the amount of air going in and out of the engine is going to need a tune. So swapping to a downpipe is going to require you to have a tune. You're changing a lot of the flow coming off of the turbo and exiting the vehicle as it is. Now, CatBacks, we'll get into CatBacks here shortly. But injectors is another one that some of you guys have asked me, which kind of confuses me. But some people just don't know. But yes, you do need a tune for injectors. You can scale up injectors massively by swapping to a bigger injector, and you're dumping a lot more fuel into the car, and you're still going to be running the same amount of air. Now, it's safer to run rich than it is lean. I do agree with you guys by saying that. But you're gonna have to get a tune for injectors. You can't just throw them in, use stock tune to drive absolutely anywhere at all. Your cars are gonna be having a serious time trying to figure out what the hell is going on. So injectors, don't just throw them in and expect a stock tune to work. You do need a tune for those. Controversial one, here's one for you guys that might trigger some people, blow-off valves. You guys know how I feel about blow-off valves. Do I think you can run a blow-off valve? You can run a blow-off valve with a proper tune. Can you throw a blow-off valve on a stock car and expect everything to be just fine? Not 100%, not necessarily, no. The math is reading the air going into the car. If you are I almost said if you're ejaculating that air, if you're evacuating that air out of the system, the math thinks it's getting this much air when you're shooting out this other exponential amount of air into the atmosphere. So a blow-off valve, I don't suggest doing it on a stock tune. If you at least get a pro tune with a blow-off valve, the ECU has some sort of idea what's actually going on with the car. So blow-off valves, you're gonna need tune for them. A couple other popular ones that people ask me if you need a tune for, which you do. TGV deletes, you do need a tune for TGV deletes. You are gonna be throwing some codes. If you delete the TGVs, your ECU is gonna still try to move the butterfly valves that are no longer there, and you're gonna start throwing codes. So TGV deletes, you do need tuned for. Secondary air pump delete, you're gonna need tuned for that one also. It's not necessarily that the car is gonna run different entirely. On cold starts it will run a little bit different, but you're going to be throwing a lot of codes, deleting the secondary air system. So I'm going to say tune required for that one as well, or at least an ECU touch up just to clear the codes. You guys, you know what I'm saying. I feel like that's the majority of all the ones that you guys asked me primarily. Let's talk about some parts that you can throw on, engine stuff, engine related, that you don't need a tune for. Air oil separators, you do not need a tune for them unless, here is the caveat, unless you are getting IAG's competition series or you're getting an air oil separator that vents to the atmosphere rather than plumbing back into the system. So air oil separators work on a really weird way, where it's like closed loop, hunting, idle, a whole bunch of weird stuff going on with them. So if you're venting all that air to the atmosphere, like I said, any air that goes in or out of the car needs to be accounted for with a tune. Any air oil separator you get aside from IAG's competition series air oil separator, you do not need a tune for. So it's gonna be like Street Series, Perrin, Crawford, Cobb, all of those ones that vent everything back into the system, you don't need a tune for. Fuel pumps are another one. You don't need a tune to swap into fuel pumps. So if you are like preparing for a tune, but you wanna get some parts thrown on the car to save you a little bit of money, so that way the shop isn't having to install it for you, saves you a little bit of cash in your pocket. A fuel pump, you can throw that in no problem. The fuel pump just supplies fuel up to the fuel pressure regulator and then up to the injector. So if you're not changing fuel pressure and you're not changing the injector, the fuel pump's still gonna be supplying the same amount of fuel until it gets a higher demand. So swapping out fuel pumps, you can totally do that without swapping tunes or anything like that. Super easy to do too. Bypass valves, that is another one that you can do without getting a tune for. All the bypass valve is doing is recirculating that air back into the system. Typically a stock bypass valve will get you up to around 20 to 22 PSI on the factory one. If you want to swap it out, go to a different one. It's really just changing the amount of pressure that it's capable of holding. So if you do want to swap out the bypass valve for a different one, no tune required for that. You can just go ahead and throw it on. No issues should succumb from that. But keep in mind, don't throw a blow-off valve on there. That's when you start getting issues, weird problems, all that kind of stuff. CatBacks, CatBack exhaust system or an axle back is another one you guys can do without having to get a tune. It's post-catalytic converter, so that way you're not changing anything drastic in the system. So that way if you wanted to swap on a different CatBack or a different axle back, you can totally do that without having to retune the car. There's a lot of options out there for whatever ones you guys want. If you want something a little bit quieter, the Q300 is not a bad way to go. If you want something stupid loud like mine, ETS Extreme is a good way to go as well. Or if you want something like right in between both of those, the NVIDIA R400 is another good one. But there's a lot of good exhausts out there, just because some of you guys do ask my recommendation on those. So there you have it for CatBacks. I thought of one more that you do need a tune for that some of you guys have asked me about. That's going to be headers, equal length or unequal length. I don't care which one you go with. Both of them are going to require a tune. You're changing the internal diameter of the header, which changes how much exhaust is going to flow through it, which increases efficiency, which is another issue with having to interwork the system, I guess you could call it. So headers, you are gonna need tune for that one. And then the last one that I have for you guys that does not require a tune at all is an up pipe if you are just swapping out up pipe. And now if you're adding an external wastegate or anything like that, then obviously you're gonna need a tune. But if you're just swapping out your up pipe for another one that is non-externally gated, or it's non-catted or anything like that, you're totally fine to swap that out without having to retune or tune the car at all. It's just a pipe that connects the header to the turbo. You're not really changing a whole lot on the inner diameter of those up pipes. So there you guys have it. I actually really hope this answers a lot of your guys' questions regarding what you can and cannot do with and without a tune, because I get a lot of these questions, a lot. This is probably like 80% of the questions that I get is, do I need a tune for this part? But that's all I got for you guys, so not a long video at all, but I hope this video helps you guys out. Some of the newer people, for the people who have been around the block a little bit, you guys already know what you do and don't need a tune for, but if not, hopefully it's a friendly reminder to you. So, if you like the video, you guys know what to do. Go ahead, hit that thumbs up, turn it blue, like the underside of the hood on the Subaru. And if you're not already subscribed to the channel, hit your boy up, bottom corner, like right there. Also, thank you guys for 25K subscribers too. I really appreciate it. Would not be making these videos without you guys, so I'm always open for answering questions in live streams, comment section of YouTube. I try Instagram, but I get like stupid busy all the time, and there's so many messages on Instagram. I try to get through some of them. Anyways, thanks you guys. Always appreciate it as well. But with that, I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace out, homies.